Okay, we're continuing here from the Hidden History of Nutrition and Health and Science by me, Pete Rogers. We're going to do Dr. McDougall today. So basically, like we're saying, Dr. Kempner in and of himself was the grandfather of nutritional therapy. Dr. McDougall is like the father of nutritional therapy. And Dr. McDougall is very closely connected to Nathan Pritikin. That was his main mentor. Kempner kind of came out of nowhere, you know, in a sense, you could think of Dr. Kempner like the ancient Greeks and Romans, Dr. McDougall and Pritikin like the Renaissance and the others associated with them. There's a lot of people associated with that time. You know, Dennis Burkitt, Gregory Sloop, Dr. Day, and a whole bunch of other really great ones too. And then Esselstyn and Campbell and other ones, okay? And then, you know, Jeff Nelson's kind of a transitional figure. And then I'm part of like what I would call the Belle Epoque, you know, the golden age of Europe, the 1800s. The Victorian Renaissance, the Catholic Revival. Okay, Starch Solution is the best nutrition book. It's McDougall's best book. He lived from 1947 to 2024, so he died 2 years ago. He was the best. So Kempner was the best doctor in the world in his time. McDougall was the best doctor in the world in his time from about 1989 to 2024. Okay. All right, now McDougall, so here's the big thing. Kempner basically showed that you put a person on a low-fat vegan diet, really low fat, about 2% of calories from fat, 4% from protein. You can cure almost all the Western diseases, and the ones you can't cure, like kidney failure, you can dramatically slow them down most of the time. Extraordinary. You reverse diabetic retinopathy, hypertensive retinopathy, congestive heart failure, atrial fibrillation, coronary artery disease, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, obesity, etc. Okay, what McDougall did was, you know, Kempner's patients were in a monitored setting. He's checking labs on them frequently, making rounds on them every day. With McDougall's diet, you get almost as good a results as Kempner's, but you don't, you know, you can just eat this at home, much more variety. So here's a couple quotes by Dr. McDougall. He says, and by the way, he recommends 90% of calories from starch and 5% from fruits and vegetables. And people say, well, why do you recommend so much starch? And he says, because that's what healthy populations eat. And I would say that's a good way to go if you're having a problem and you want to get healthy fast. Do exactly what McDougall says. Once you've got things established and you're pretty healthy, you can eat more fruit. You know, and it depends on the individual. The more you exercise, the more fruit you could eat. Because fruit's a pretty good food. Okay, and like I was saying the other day, we had fire from the beginning, Homo sapiens, modern humans. Okay, so you could cook starch right from the beginning. And we have color vision, I think, to see fruit. We're made to eat both of them. All right, and vegetables. McDougall says, people ask me if they can ever be healthy again. I tell them, starch is the solution to your health problems. The more starch they eat, the healthier they get. All large, healthy populations are starch-based. There are no exceptions. Starches include potatoes, sweet potatoes, rice, beans, oatmeal, quinoa, squash. It also includes barley, rye, and wheat, and millet. Okay, so here's Dr. McDougall's book, The Starch Solution. It's a great book. I made a whole bunch of videos about book reviews of it, so if you want to see a detailed discussion of it. And of course, just go to Dr. McDougall's channel. He's got a YouTube channel, you know, Dr. McDougall Health Center, and he's got a great website, drmcdougall.com. That's where all his newsletters are. That's where all his testimonials of all the patients he's cured. He's got tons and tons of patients that he's cured. Okay, starch is a polymer of glucose wrapped in fiber. So what that means is, when your intestinal enzymes, they have to peel off the fiber, and then the glucose is absorbed in your blood. So it has a gradual, it slows down the absorption of the glucose into the blood. So you just get this, like the effect of a slow release energy pill. Your hunger is satisfied for a prolonged amount of time, longer than it is with fruits, for example, much longer than just with straight simple sugars. So you satisfy your hunger with fewer calories and you end up skinnier. Keeps you in the feeling good zone a prolonged amount of time at a normal blood glucose level. Okay, here's a picture of what I was just talking about. The fiber being a polymer of glucose, the starch being a polymer of glucose wrapped in fiber. It takes time for the stomach, the digestive enzymes to peel off the fiber, and then the blood glucose comes up kind of gradually, stays just a little bit up for a while. It's normally supposed to do that. If you just eat simple sugars, you'll tend to spike your blood glucose too rapidly. Pancreas overcompensates, drives it down too rapidly. That's called rebound hypoglycemia. That makes you feel lousy. You'll tend to eat more simple sugars, spikes up again. You end up with a roller coaster blood glucose curve, and over time, that'll make you feel pretty lousy. It'll cause leaky gut, etc. Okay, another quote from Dr. McDougall. He says in China before 1970, when they ate 90% of their calories from white rice, 1 billion out of 1 billion people were skinny. Look at the Asian families in California. The grandparents who eat rice-based diet are skinny. The middle generation, whose diet is westernized with more meat and dairy and oils, are fatter and sicker. Then the children who eat even more westernized diet are fatter and sicker. It's obvious. You can see the truth. You can see the truth. And that's a big statement. There's where you get an obvious answer, epidemiology. The reason why paleo-keto carnivore says that epidemiology is bogus is because it makes them look like fools, because it tells the truth. They can't handle the truth because paleo-keto carnivore is bogus nonsense for retards. It's just information flooding on the internet to confuse the pros. That pros have to be kept confused, because if everybody went to a low-fat vegan diet, the medical system would go bankrupt. So they have to keep the pros fat and sick. And then they can sell them supplements, all kinds of stuff. Fat, sick, and stupid pros are good for the economy. I can tell you, like I said, I've been a doctor about 35 years, board certified, 3 fields, and I can tell you the most important thing I ever learned is that humans should eat a low-fat, vegan, starch-based diet, because that makes them healthy. That's the most important thing you could know in all health. Here's just showing a little more detail on the blood glucose curve, that if you eat simple sugars right here, the blue, you spike your blood glucose level very rapidly, but then you overcompensate. Pancreas releases a lot of insulin real fast, and it drives your sugar down too rapidly. You end up with rebound hypoglycemia. You feel lousy. And you can get migraine headaches from that, scintillating scotoma from your eyes. Some people misbehave. There's a whole bunch of people who behave badly when they get rebound hypoglycemia because they don't know what's happening. And you gotta like drink something real sweet fast to relieve it sometimes. Okay, the red line is if you eat fat first, followed by carbohydrate, because then the fat will cause insulin resistance. So then when you follow it with the carbohydrate, your blood glucose stays markedly elevated a prolonged amount of time. So that's called carbohydrate intolerance. If you just eat the starch, your blood glucose comes up a little bit. It's supposed to do that under normal, optimal conditions. But then it comes, back down closer to normal, and it stays near normal a prolonged amount of time. You feel good. Okay? That's what you want. It's the golden mean, the Aristotelian golden mean. It's the Goldilocks zone. Okay, so the starch solution teaches you the fundamentals of nutrition. Starch is the best food. Fruits and vegetables are very good. All animal foods, including dairy, are bad. All free oils are bad, including olive oil and omega-3s. Here's a chart on caloric density. So what you can see here is that the worst food is these oils. They're liquid fat, okay, with no significant nutrients in them. Liquid fat. Even the so-called, the one they put on a pedestal, olive oil, it's got tons of saturated fat and PUFAs, not tons, maybe 11 to 14% sat fat, and it's got a lot of PUFA, omega-6 PUFA. It's a disaster. You don't want to eat that crap. In my opinion, anybody who promotes that is sold out. Okay, here is the amount of percentage of calories per gram from oil is 9, from nuts and seeds is 6. Nuts and seeds are super fat. That's another reason why I would never eat them. They try to pretend that nuts and seeds are some magic food. Dr. McDougall had said the Seventh-day Adventist studies were paid off to promote nuts and seeds. They're bogus, in Dr. McDougall's opinion. I heard him say that. And I've also heard a lot of people pretty famous in the weight loss business and too, like Chef AJ. She said she couldn't lose the weight until she stopped eating nuts and seeds. Okay, but you'll see nuts and seeds promoted all over the place as being these wonder foods. Okay, and what's his name? The head of Harvard School of Public Health. He promotes these things, which is ridiculous. Willett, the guy with the mustache, looks like a walrus. Yeah, completely stupid. High-fat phony diet's about 40% of calories from fat. That's not going to solve these health problems. These health problems were cured by a low-fat vegan diet. We're talking anywhere from 2 to 10% of calories from fat. Okay, meat and cheese are about 4 calories per gram. Starches are about 1 calorie per gram. The reason is they're not pure glucose. They're mostly fiber, okay? The glucose is wrapped in fiber, so their caloric density is quite low. And then vegetables are the lowest, 0.1 calorie per gram. So you can't actually satisfy your hunger adequately if you only eat vegetables. Stretching of the stomach provides early satisfaction and hunger. Jeff Nelson at VegSource, by the way, has lots of really good videos about what a joke eating nuts is. Okay, nuts are also high in advanced glycation end products. Another reason why they're totally overrated. Okay, let's see. Oh, here's another one of Dr. McDougall's book, his Digestive Tune-Up. It's a very good book, goes through the common digestive problems people have and how low-fat vegan solves almost all of them. Oh, and then, yeah, Dr. McDougall died in 2024. He was the best doctor in the world. You know, my goal was to become the best doctor in the world, so I wanted to learn everything that Dr. McDougall had done. I had already read most of his books and watched tons of his videos, but I systematically went through his books and his newsletters and his videos, and then I wrote a book about him, John McDougall, the Doctor Who Fought for You, and I summarized all his work. I kind of wanted it all organized for myself in that book, so I wrote that book for myself, but you know, for all the people too, that's the very fast way you can get through, you know, all the big stuff that Dr. McDougall did, and he did a lot of stuff. I think we know about Dr. McDougall a lot better than Pritikin because McDougall was around in the age of the internet. Oh, by the way, McDougall thought Ansel Keys was a great man and a great researcher who did great work showing that saturated fat was very, which is like saying animal fat was very atherogenic. Okay. I think we're going to leave it at that. I think that's pretty much what I got. You know, I've already talked about it before. The conventional medicine just gets you hooked on drugs, match yielded a pill, send a bill. They milk you like a chump every day. I call it the, and that's why I call the Mediterranean diet the Antichrist diet. It promises salvation, but it doesn't deliver. And again, it just makes you sick. You end up getting milked like a cow every day, taking pills. All right, we're going to do Burkitt next. I'll just leave it at that for now. He was another mentor for Dr. McDougall. I hope you found this helpful.